The Pixel 9 Pro is strange in that it's both a contender for the best phone of 2024 and simultaneously pretty underwhelming when you consider where we were with last year's model. It has made considerable progress in some areas and has completely flatlined in others, and that's why my opinion on the Pixel 9 Pro keeps going back and forth. I've used every generation of Pixel down the years, including going in store to buy the original, and I have to be honest, I was really excited for the Pixel 9 Pro to come out, because in theory, it's a legend in the making, packing in most of the features from the way bigger and pricier Pixel XL into a device that actually feels refreshingly compact and dense. It's what I've been asking for like the last 5 or 6 years. And in person, I have to say it absolutely delivers. It is incredibly well put together and feels dense, it feels weighty, without feeling overly cumbersome. Even as someone who doesn't think phones should have flat sides, they just seem to nail this for some reason. The feeling in the hand is fantastic, with its subtly tapered glossy sides that feel grippier than they look in the photos and videos that you might see online. The buttons are really tactile, especially compared to last year, and I find the way the SIM card tray sort of follows the curve of the phone really satisfying. It's one of those odd things, I guess. It has IP68 water and dust resistance, so it's waterproof to some degree, and I think that it's a really clean piece of design, one that might just be my favourite in a phone right now. But why on earth, when a phone feels this modern and high-end, is it also so limited and outdated to a certain degree in a lot of different ways? The charging is only 27 watts, which isn't the end of the world, but it is markedly slower than what a lot of other brands are offering, including the wonderful 100-watt setup on my OnePlus. 27 watts wasn't rapid 5 years ago, let alone right now, and the XL model does offer a slightly faster 37-watt charging, so we don't have that option here, which is really quite annoying. Also guys, please, I am trying to hit 100k subscribers, so please hit that follow, subscribe button. It would really genuinely mean the world to me if you could do that. Google has also addressed one of the most frustrating issues that has plagued Pixel phones for like the past few years. The new ultrasonic in-display fingerprint reader is way better than last year and the year before that. It is ridiculous. It is more accurate, it is just quicker. It's almost as good as what Samsung's doing in its phones right now, but it's not quite there. Either way, a fantastic upgrade, and proof that Google is listening. Yet at the same time, another huge concern for previous Pixels has been its lackluster performance due to the in-house Tensor chips just not being up to speed with Qualcomm, even with MediaTek to some degree, and of course with Apple. And the thing that really highlights this is that the Exynos version of the S24 smokes it, and you can find out more about that in my comparison on Android Police. But yeah, the fact that an Exynos is beating your phone substantially, that's not a good look. It shows itself really in high-end games, multitasking, that kind of thing, and sure, the performance really isn't bad outside of that by any means, but when a phone costs $1,000, you kind of expect it to have top shelf performance, a top 3 chip really, and this doesn't even crack that. It was clear from the get-go that Google didn't want to boast Tensor G4 performance because there's not much to boast about whatsoever. Although its 16 gigs of RAM is a healthy boost from last time around and keeps the phone feeling brisk, though you're only actually able to make use of 12 gigabytes of that RAM because 4 is sort of partitioned off, sectioned off for AI only, which it might be a contentious topic. But then again, this phone still uses the UFS 3.1 storage standard, which is slower than UFS 4 stuff that you'll find in the S24 Ultra, the OnePlus 12, the Xperia 1 Mark 6, the Moto Razr 50 Ultra, and heaps of other phones that are similar in price to this. This phone makes do with last generation storage media for $1,000, or pounds, depending on where you're from. Those are the only two currencies, by the way. Clearly cut corners. I'm just not a big fan of that. But then flipping it back, it has one of the best displays that you can find on any smartphone. It is sharp, it's fluid, it's vibrant, it gets incredibly bright. Way more than last time around. This is my favourite display in any phone. It's just so good. I think that due to the size not being super compact, but also not being ginormous, it's kind of like the perfect middle ground where you want to play games, you watch films, you doom scroll like the rest of us. I've said it on Android Police before and I'll say it here again. This is the best piece of hardware in the Pixel 9 Pro. Google cooked with its display. And then simultaneously, I can't help but feel a little bit hard done by the camera hardware on offer here, because it's very similar, if not the same, as what we got last year with the Pixel 8 Pro. To be fair, they have managed to cram all that stuff into a way more compact chassis, alongside the bigger battery, which we will talk about a little bit later, it is quite impressive. It's a 50 megapixel main, 48 megapixel 5x tele, and 48 megapixel ultra wide. I know it's actually pretty good hardware to be honest, but I just feel like these should be improving every single year, and obviously that hasn't really happened this year. That said, you do get an upgraded 42 megapixel selfie camera, whose real improvement has really been the large field of view upgrade. Actually, you know what, maybe I'm being a bit too harsh and expecting too much with this new hardware, because the camera system is actually very good. It's sharp from 0.5 times all the way to about 10 times, and then isn't actually too bad when you zoom past that, thanks to Google's algorithm for keeping things sharp. Although I have noticed that past a certain point, you can see the system kind of filling in details that might not necessarily be there, such as long range text resolution and that kind of thing. Bit of an odd one, I'm not really sure how to feel about that, but yeah, it is what it is. Not only is this camera system as a whole probably one of the most complete and reliable point and shoot packages that you can buy right now, but the fact it's also in a more compact chassis really adds bonus points for me. The 8K video is probably one of the most interesting things about this camera suite. I usually tell people to just stick to Ultra HD 60p, but this is using Google's video boost to increase dynamic range, stabilize shaky footage, and actually sharpen things when you pinch all the way in past the 5x native optical zoom. It's weird, it's like by far the best 8K footage I've ever seen from a smartphone, though you do have to wait an awfully long time for it to sync to the cloud, render the video boost, and then download it again, as this is one of the things that I was really confused about when I first shot video boost, is why isn't it previewing in front of my eyes when actually I had to upload it and wait a few hours for my footage to be converted. It's a really strange one, but once you understand why it's doing that, I guess it makes more sense. And that's also going to depend on how long the clip is and the connection speed and stuff like that. And then there's AI. I'm not really going to talk too much about AI because, you know, I don't really like it. Check out the linked video in the description for my full breakdown on Android, please. But to sum it up, you are getting an awful lot of gimmicky AI in this phone, which you might love or you might hate. I'm not hating either way. But the reason I feel negative about it is, it's my theory that companies are kind of using these AI party tricks to cover up for the devices that aren't necessarily groundbreaking or the milestones that we haven't quite got to yet. Chuck in AI, make it look fancy, and then we can sort of work on the other stuff behind the scenes. I feel like that's the sort of thing going on with this, you know, the Tensor G4 not being super powerful, but, you know, some cool AI tricks. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think of that actually, because that's just a theory and obviously quite a contentious topic at the moment. But then back to the positives. 4700 mAh, that is how big the battery is in this phone, which has been phenomenal for me. I've not had any kind of range anxiety that sometimes I would get with using a more compact smartphone because of the smaller batteries. And on busier days, this is easily a full day, with much lighter days being a 2-day battery, although I haven't had many of those because I've been reviewing this and comparing it to other phones for work. It's actually dead right now. The battery is really good, though as is the same with other Tensor smartphones that I've tried out, for some reason the standby time just doesn't feel very good. I actually don't know if it is just not very good, but it doesn't feel like it lasts as long, so take that with a pinch of salt. I think I feel net positive about the Pixel 9 Pro. I don't touch the AI stuff, and to be fair, I rarely play those crazy demanding games I was saying the Tensor G4 isn't great for. This isn't an excuse for Google to slack in those hardware areas though. The display is an absolute beauty. The general external hardware improvements have added up to create a really well executed package. The battery life is also way better than you'd think. The duality of Google's Pixel 9 Pro is an interesting conundrum, but one that I think many will ignore because this thing looks and feels so remarkably premium.